In this tutorial video, we're going to cover activating and using some of the Therms built-in report types. In a previous video, we went over the very basics of setting up and activating the location report type and went through the process of adding report entries to it and just skimmed over the surface of some of the details that we're going to cover in this video. If you're unfamiliar with report types and report entry types, I recommend going to the website for Therms and checking out the support section and searching for the Reports Getting Started tutorial. So what we're going to start with here is going to the report module configuration screen. So from here I can see a list of report types. These are all built in that come with the Therms software by default. And in that previous video we activated this location report type. And that's the report type that we use to walk through kind of some of the basics of adding report entries and how reports are used in Therms. So what we're going to check out from here is I'm going to go into the camera monitoring report type, and it's not activated right now. So at the very top here I see the active switch. I'm going to turn this on and I'm going to cover these first two fields. This is the name of that report type. So I'm actually going to change this so we can see it reflect when we go into clicking new report and selecting the report type. So we're simply going to call this a camera report. I'm going to change the icon also, and I'm going to go down to the bottom of this screen and I'm going to select save. Now I'm going to go back to my reports module. I'm going to select new report, and now I see the camera report option when I am creating a new report. So I can go through here and I can fill out the prompts and I can create a new report. So we just created a camera report that is the report type, and I can add an entry for this. When I select add entry, I only am presented with this form here for camera activity. Now if you remember in the location report type, there were many different options for the report entries, such as a general entry, a foot patrol, or a vehicle patrol. So this camera report only has one report entry type that's allowed to be added to it. I'm going to enter some information here just for demonstration purposes. And I'm going to save it. And there we go. We have a report entry type. So we'll go back to the configuration screen and we'll talk a little bit more about the report entry types that are allowed to be added to this report. So if I go to the reports module and I select config, go back into report type. I'm going to skip these details for now and we're going to go straight to the bottom, and I see a drop down here, report entry types. Now this is a list of the available report entry types that can be added to this specific report type. And notice there's only one in there right now, camera activity. It lets us know also that it's a built-in. This comes with the Therms software. So I'm going to drop this down and I'm going to see a list of report entry types in here. I'm going to go in and I'm going to select general, and maybe I'll pick one more. I will select observation. So now we have three report entry types that we're going to allow to be added to the camera report. I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back to my reports module, and I have this in progress report of the camera report type. If I go in and I select add entry, now I have an option to pick which report entry type I actually want to add. I'll just add a general entry for now. And there we go. Now we have two different report entry types added to this report. Let's go back to the configuration screen again. I'll start at the top here and we'll talk about the report date and how that's used in the report types. So we have a couple options. We can switch between use report creation date and automatic based on report entries. So what the first option is, the automatic based on report entries, means that the report date is going to be set by Therms automatically based off the report entries that are in the report. I'll demonstrate that in 1 second. The other option for use report creation date means that it's going to be a static date of when the report was actually created. So when I click the button and I say new report and I click camera report and and I go next. Right now it says automatic date. Let's go back to the configuration screen and we'll change that. I'll select use report creation date and I'll save the report type. Go back to the modules, new report. And now it's a static date of November 13th, 2019, today. This can't be changed. So if I select that option, there's nowhere to change this date. I can click on it, I can do anything. I can even add a report entry that was for 2 days ago. But the report date is still going to be November 13th, which is today. Up here in the corner, I see that I can delete the report, status history, and edit location. I don't have many options. So I'm going to go back to the configuration for that report. Now if I change this to automatic based on report entries, and I'll save the report type, I'll go back to reports, and I will go to my report. Now when I add an entry for today, it's going to show me that the report date is November 11th through 13th, because what it's doing is calculating the earliest report entry time, which is this one, that's November 11th, and the latest report entry time, which is November 13th. So that's how an automatic report date is calculated. And I still can't change this report date. So we do have an option in the configuration for this report type, allow edit date. So if I check that box and I save the report entry type, I go back to the report. Now, if I want to edit this date, I go to the top right corner and I see the edit date option. And I can actually change the start date and the end date. Once I change this, oops, it looks like it's setting it to November 13th. So once I change the report date, it will not now automatically calculate any new report entries. So even if I change this to be another date, November 14th say, the report date is static and it's going to stay at November 1st. And the reason for that is because I manually edited the date. So that's how the report dates work. Let's go back into the config and talk about some more options. We have a checkbox here for allow a location assignment. Now, when we are going through the create report process, we pick a location from our list of locations that we want to make the report for. So if I go back here and I select new report and I select camera report, I can pick a date. The reason why I'm prompted with this option for the date is because we allowed editing of the date. I'm going to select use auto date. Now I have a drop down for the location. This is the checkbox that we were just talking about. Allow a location assignment. So I can select the location and then I can go and create the report. So if I go back into the configuration, and I see some more options. A location assignment is required. This means if I check this box, then a report type will not be allowed to be created if a user hasn't selected a location. And if that's important to your security operations, meaning that you don't want any users creating a report and forgetting to select what location the report was for, then you might want to use this option. If your security officers write a single security report for multiple locations and you want them to be able to assign that report and pick several locations, then you can allow multiple locations assignment and check this box. Location tasks are something that we'll cover a little bit later on. Now, the next option I see is allow user assignment. And now this is very similar to the location assignment. I'm going to select the checkbox for allow user assignment. And I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back to the reports module. I'm going to select new report, camera report, use auto date. Now I can select my location. And I see an option to select a user. Now this doesn't really make sense for a camera report, but I'm going to walk through this process just to give us an idea of how it works. So I'm going to select the user John Smith and I will create the report. Now I notice up here that I have my report type, the date, contributors, the status of the report. I have locations and the user. I can add an entry and save this. So if this was a real camera monitoring report, it wouldn't really make sense to have a user assignment in this report. Let's talk about where that might be useful. I'll go back to the reports module. I'll go to my configuration, and I'll scroll down through this list. And we have a therms built-in report type that's called Onduty Injury. Now, the first thing that we see in this list, on checkboxes, notice there's no location assignment. So this report type is an on-duty injury. And this, like I said, this comes with therms, it's built in, and it's kind of intended to be used by security companies if they have an employee that gets injured while he's on duty and he reports that to a supervisor or management or the office. The office will say, okay, get on therms and complete an on-duty injury report. So allow user assignment is important. And we have the checkbox, a user assignment is required, meaning this report cannot be created if a user hasn't been assigned. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to save this for now. We'll come back and look at some of those more details in a minute. I go into new report and I have the option for on-duty injury report. Now I'll select this and I'm prompted to pick the user. So either I'm writing this report for myself, or I'm a supervisor or manager or an owner of a company and I'm writing this on-duty injury report for another user, one of my employees. I'm going to write this report for John Smith. And I go next and I create. Wow, this looks a lot different than the past reports. And the reason for that is because this is a form. And this is referred to in the report type configuration as a static report form. So I don't have the option for adding an entry. It comes with one form, and it looks like there's quite a few questions here. And these are all related to an injury while on duty, hence the name On-Duty Injury. So I can add some information here, where the injury occurred. And I can say at Ashton Apartments. What are the injured body parts? Leg. Has it been injured before? No. Step by step. I tripped over a tree branch. Name of witness? No witnesses. What could have been done to avoid the injury? I could, actually, I'm filling this out. We're role playing, and I'm filling this out for John Smith. So you'll have to excuse the I tripped. I'm just going to say tripped over a tree branch. No flashlight. Medical dispatched at time of injury? No. Medical attention required at a later date? Yes. And then I can add some files for this on-duty injury report, but I don't have any, so I'm going to save changes. I'll go to the top, and I can complete this report. Now if I go back to the report, I notice it's completed, and this is what a completed on-duty injury report will look like. So let's go back to the configuration and talk about these options. So the first thing that we want to talk about is the form that we saw instead of report entries. Remember earlier in this video we went over report entry types that we could add to this bottom select option. Now we have static form checkbox here. If I uncheck this, this field changed to report entry types, and I can add different report entry types. Well, that doesn't necessarily make sense. So I'm going to check this box as a static form, and it's only going to show me a list of static form report entry forms that I have available in therms. And like I said, we have already provided a built-in on-duty injury form, so that's the one that you would want to select. So let's save these changes, and let's go and let's talk about a different type of report. Now I want to talk about a disciplinary action report and some of these options that are available here. We have a checkbox that says restrict by access level. So this report type, a disciplinary action, may be used by a security company that if a supervisor is out in the field and he goes and checks on a security officer and maybe he's out of uniform, or he doesn't have his permit or licenses that he's required to have on him while he's on duty, and I'm a supervisor, maybe I need to document this in the therms system. So I would use this disciplinary action report type to document that. Now this one, just like the on-duty injury report, is a static form as well. So it has therms built-in disciplinary action. So if I save this and I go back, I forgot to activate it. I need to activate the report type. I'll save it. We'll go to reports, new report, and disciplinary action. Now notice I can see this. We'll get back to the access level in a second. Select the date, and I'm writing disciplinary action up on this user, and here's the static form. Reason for disciplinary action, previous warnings were given, disciplinary action taken, and the action was taken by me. Any other notes and details? So I am going to go and I'm going to fill some generic information out real quick so we can demonstrate the access level permissions. So the reason for disciplinary action, out of uniform, he's been given previous warnings, verbal warning, and no other notes. I'm going to save the changes. I'm going to complete this report. Now notice that this report shows in the recent list, and it's a disciplinary action report type for John Smith. Now, maybe I wouldn't necessarily want John Smith to see this disciplinary action report, and I want to keep these hidden. So let's go back to the configuration, go to the disciplinary action report type, and look at these options that we have here for restrict by access level. So the access level to create this report needs to be level 2 or higher, meaning that a user has to have the access level of level 2 or higher in order to create this report. And the access level to view, a user has to have level 3 or higher to view this report. So in my demo account, I'm logged in and I'm an organization administrator with admin privileges, meaning I have the highest access level that's available. If I go to the roster and I look at John Smith, I see that he has access level of 1. And he doesn't have any permissions affiliated with him. So if we go back to the screen and we look at access level to create, we have it set to supervisor. We can set it to regular, supervisor, or manager. And anybody that's a manager can view these reports. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag another window that I have logged in on a demo account for John Smith. I'll bring this over here and let's go to reports. And let's look at in progress and all. And notice that he's not unable to see this report type. And that's because his access level is level 1 and he doesn't have the appropriate access to view or create this report type. So let's see if he can create this report. If we go to our demo account for John Smith and I select new report, he doesn't have the option to create a disciplinary action report, because he's only access level 1. So that's how the restrict by access level works. Let's talk about some more options then. I'll go back to the report types here, and we will talk about let's say a loss prevention report. Now, if your security company doesn't provide loss prevention, just a quick background, loss prevention is commonly used in retail stores where plainclothes security staff will intervene and intercept and try to detour civilians from stealing from the store. So loss prevention report type may not be used by your company, but we're going to go through this demo and we're going to use it here. What I'll do is I'll activate it, and I want to talk about one more step in this process, the requires review and approval option. So when a user creates a report in the system, if you have it set up for the location subscribers to receive emails of reports when they're completed, you may want to review your security officer's reports before it actually gets sent to a subscriber. For example, a store manager or an apartment complex manager that your company provides security services to. So in this case, let's say that this is a loss prevention store and there's a store manager, and the store manager's a subscriber for the location that we're going to complete this report for. And I want to review all of my security officer's reports before they get sent to him. So I'm going to check this box here, and I'm going to save this report, and I will go back to new report types, and I'm going to drag my window back over with John Smith, who's logged in on this window as a demo account. Now again, John Smith has access level 1 and he has no permissions for reports. So I'll go to the reports module, new report, and I'm going to select the loss prevention report, Acme Business Complex, and I'll create the report. So now we have add entry and incident because there are incident report entry types. I'll add an entry and I'll give it some details. And I'll save this. And let's say that I am John Smith and I go through my shift and I add many more entry types. We won't do that now. We want to be quick with this demo. And I'm finished with my shift. So the security officer will go and he will select complete report. Now notice I have the option here to request review. I can't actually complete the report because I'm just a regular security officer, and the loss prevention report type has the review and approval step. So I'm going to select request review. And now I'll move this window out of the way and I'll go back to my administrator account, and I see that I have a new option here with pending and the green number 1. So these are pending review reports, and I see it says review requested by John Smith 32 seconds ago. If I select the report, I can review any of the report entries, and I have an option to review the report. I can reject it or I can approve the report. When I select approve, it'll be completed, and if there are any customers that are subscribers for this location, Acme Business Complex, they'll get an email right away. Or if I reject it, I can give him some notes. Please correct spelling. And I select reject. Now it's no longer in the pending queue. If I go back to my John Smith's logged in window here, from his reports module, he now has an attention tab with the orange number 1. I select that, and I notice here it says review rejected by Corey Robinson. And the status is now in progress, but it's under the attention tab because it's something that needs immediate attention. If I select the report, I notice I have a blue box here that says review rejected, and I can select this and I can see the details. Please correct spelling. These were the notes from my manager, and I'll close this. And let's say I can change purse to purse, if that's how you spell purse. I'll save that. I'll complete the report, and again, I'll go back into request review. Now, in my admin page for the reports, and I see it's back in review again. If I select it and I look at it and I go, oh man, this guy didn't spell purse correctly again. He must not have understood what I was talking about. So I can either select the review option, reject the report again, and give him some notes, or I can correct the spelling myself quickly. If I go to the top right and I select edit report, the reason why I cannot edit the report right now myself is because it's in a pending review state. So I have to move the report into an editing state, which is in progress. So if I select in progress, now the report is editable, and I can go in here as the manager and I can correct the spelling. I can save it. Now when I select complete, I don't have the option to move it to request review because I'm an actual administrator that has report approval privileges. So I'm just going to select complete, and that's it. The report's done. It's been fired off to the customer, and that's it. So I hope I've covered all the details that you're looking for, and if you're not, you can go to the Therms website, go to the support section, and you can search for other tutorial videos there, or you can reach out to us, support@therms.io. And in the next video that we will cover the drag and drop builder and building custom report entry types.